The galaxy knows fear when the Void Stalkers arrive. These ancient hunters have traveled between stars for millions of years, seeking the perfect prey. No species has ever survived their attention. They are living shadows that move through space. Without ships, beings of pure darkness who feed on the terror of their victims. On the planet Kepler 442b, the blue-skinned Aquarians live in floating cities above endless oceans. Their civilization spans 3,000 years. They have mastered water manipulation and built towers of coral that reach toward the stars. But when the darkness comes, their ancient wisdom means nothing. The first signs appear as shadows that move wrong. Fish flee from empty water. The great sea creatures dive deep and refuse to surface. Elder Nyx, keeper of the water temples, feels something cold touch her mind during meditation. She sees visions of darkness spreading across the ocean floor, consuming light itself. Captain Rex leads the Aquarian defense fleet. His ships patrol the space around their world, but their sensors detect nothing. The void between stars looks empty, yet something watches them from that emptiness. Something that has been watching for weeks. The attack begins without warning. Shadows pour from space like black rain. They pass through the Aquarian ships as if they were made of light. Inside the vessels, crew members scream as darkness fills their lungs. The shadows don't destroy the ships. They harvest the fear first, feeding on terror before taking lives. On the surface, Elder Nyx calls upon the ancient defenses. The ocean rises in great waves, forming barriers of water and ice. But the Void Stalkers move through matter as easily. As they move through space, the barriers slow them for moments only. Captain Rex watches his fleet disappear ship by ship. The shadows pour into each vessel and leave it floating empty. He sends out a final transmission to the galaxy, a warning that few will believe. Then his own ship goes dark. The floating cities begin to fall. The Aquarians fight with weapons of water and sound. But how does one fight shadows? How does one kill darkness itself? The coral towers crumble as the foundations shake. The great libraries flood as the cities crash into the sea. Elder Nyx makes a final stand in the deepest temple. She calls upon powers not used for 1,000 years, turning the ocean itself into a weapon. For a moment, the shadows seem to retreat. Then they surge forward like a black tide. The planet falls silent. Where once 3 billion Aquarians lived, and laughed and built wonders, now only empty cities drift beneath the waves. The Void Stalkers move on, leaving behind a world of ghosts. But they are not satisfied. This hunt was too easy. The Aquarians, for all their wisdom, were peaceful creatures. Their fear was sweet but brief. The Void Stalkers hunger for something more challenging, something that will fight back with real fury. They search the galaxy's databases, looking through the records of 1,000 civilizations. Most species surrender quickly when faced with the impossible. Others fight briefly and then despair. The Stalkers seek something different, something that has never known defeat. Then they find it. A small blue planet in an unremarkable star system. The dominant species calls itself humanity. The records show they are young, having barely reached their own moon. They have no energy weapons, no force fields, no knowledge of the greater galaxy. They should be easy prey, but something in their history makes the Void Stalkers pause. These humans have fought wars that lasted decades. They have faced extinction events and survived. They have looked into darkness and chosen to light fires, rather than surrender to the night. Most interesting of all, they are the only species that actively seeks out danger. While other civilizations explore space cautiously, sending probes and automated ships, humans strap themselves to rockets and fly into the unknown. They dive into deep oceans and climb the highest mountains. They seem to find joy in facing their fears. The Void Stalkers feel something they have not experienced in eons: anticipation. This hunt might actually be interesting. These humans might provide the kind of terror and struggle that has become so rare in the galaxy. They begin to move toward Earth, traveling through the void between dimensions. The journey will take them months, but they are patient. They have waited millions of years for worthy prey. They can wait a little longer. As they travel, they study humanity from afar. They watch wars and disasters, noting how humans respond to impossible odds. They see something troubling in these observations, something that makes them uneasy in ways they don't understand. But they dismiss these doubts. They are the void stalkers. They have never failed to claim their prey. Soon they will add humanity to their collection of extinct civilizations. Earth spins peacefully in space, unaware that the deadliest hunters in the galaxy are coming. Dr. Lisa works late in the observatory, tracking strange signals from deep space. The readings don't match anything in their databases. The patterns suggest intelligence, but the source seems to be moving between dimensions rather than through normal space. Meanwhile, truck driver Mike delivers supplies to remote mining stations across Montana. He's driven these roads for 20 years and knows every curve. But tonight, shadows seem to move wrong in his headlights. The radio picks up whispers in languages that don't exist. The void. Stalkers arrive in Earth's solar system like smoke, seeping through cracks in reality. They expect to find a primitive world, easy to terrorize and consume. Instead, they discover something that confuses them. The humans have covered their planet with lights. Even in the darkest nights, cities blaze with illumination. It's as if this species refuses to accept darkness. In Tokyo, security guard Ken walks his rounds through empty office buildings. Motion sensors trigger as he passes, but tonight they keep activating in empty rooms. He checks each alert, flashlight ready, but finds nothing. The shadows seem deeper than usual, almost alive. The stalkers begin their usual approach. They seed nightmares into sleeping minds, testing human fear responses. But something goes wrong. Instead of cowering, humans investigate. When truck driver Mike sees strange shadows, he stops his rig and gets out with a flashlight. When Dr. Lisa detects impossible readings, she calls colleagues and demands answers. A small town in Alaska becomes the first testing ground. The Void Stalkers descend upon the settlement of 200 people, expecting quick surrender. They create their usual display. Lights failing, temperatures dropping, shadows moving independently. But the humans respond differently than expected. Instead of fleeing, they gather together. Old Tom, who survived winters that killed grown men, starts a fire in the town square. Teacher Ann organizes the children into groups, telling stories to keep them calm. Mechanic Joe and his friends grab tools and form patrols. The stalkers try to isolate and terrorize individuals. They corner Postmaster Bill in his office, surrounding him with impenetrable darkness. In past hunts, this would break any creature's mind. But Bill pulls out an emergency radio and starts calling for help. When that fails, he begins singing old songs his grandmother taught him. The shadows recoil from the sound, not because the songs have power, but because Bill refuses to be afraid. He faces the unknown with curiosity instead of terror. This has never happened before in millions of years of hunting. Security guard Ken experiences something similar in Tokyo. When shadows begin moving without sources, he doesn't run. He takes photos with his phone and posts them online, asking if anyone else has seen similar things. Within hours, reports flood in from around the world. Dr. Lisa detects energy patterns that match the strange signals. She realizes something is moving through Earth's atmosphere, something that exists partially outside normal space. Instead of hiding this discovery, she publishes it immediately on scientific networks. The Void Stalkers find themselves in an impossible situation. Their presence is being documented, studied, and shared across the planet. Humans aren't just refusing to be afraid. They're actively trying to understand their hunters. In the Alaskan town, the situation becomes critical. The stalkers increase their assault, dropping temperatures to dangerous levels and blocking all escape routes. They expect the humans to break under pressure. Instead, the townspeople adapt. They burn furniture for warmth and use cell phones as lights. Mechanic Joe makes a discovery that changes everything. While working on the town generator, he notices that the strange shadows avoid certain types of light. Not all illumination drives them back, but specific frequencies seem to cause them pain. He modifies the generator and several flashlights, changing their output. When he tests the modified lights, the shadows writhe and retreat. For the first time in their existence, the Void Stalkers experience something they've never known. They become the hunted. Joe shares his discovery online before the shadows can stop him. The information spreads across the globe in minutes. Humans begin modifying their own lights and electronics. What started as an invasion becomes something else entirely. The Stalkers realize they've made a terrible mistake. This species doesn't react to unknown threats with fear. They react with curiosity, adaptation, and most dangerously, they share information instantly across their entire population. As dawn approaches. In Alaska, the Void Stalkers face a choice they've never had to make before. They can escalate their assault and risk exposure to the galaxy at large, or they can retreat and find easier prey. But retreat has never been in their nature. They are the apex predators of space. They will not be defeated by primitive creatures who have barely left their own planet. The hunt continues, but now both sides are learning. Within 24 hours, the world changes. Joe's discovery about light frequencies spreads across the internet faster than any viral video. Scientists, engineers, and amateur inventors begin experimenting with modified illumination. The initial fear gives way to something the Void Stalkers have never encountered. Organized resistance. At MIT, Professor Kate leads a team working around the clock. They analyze the frequency data and discover that the shadows aren't just avoiding certain lights. The specific wavelengths actually cause them physical pain. Within hours, they publish blueprints for weapons that any human with basic electronics knowledge can build. In Mumbai, computer programmer Dev creates an app that coordinates shadow sightings globally. Users report encounters in real time, creating a live map of stalker movements. The hunters, who have always relied on isolation and confusion, find themselves tracked and predicted. The Void Stalkers respond with increased aggression. They attack major cities simultaneously, trying to overwhelm human responses. In London, they plunge the financial district into supernatural darkness. In Snow Hollow, they cause electronic systems to fail across entire neighborhoods. But humans adapt faster than the stalkers anticipated. London taxi driver Bob and his colleagues begin using modified LED arrays mounted on their cars. They form convoys that move through the darkened streets, evacuating civilians and documenting everything with cameras. In Snow Hollow, electrician Maria leads teams that restore power using portable generators modified with the new frequency settings. When the stalkers attack the generator sites, they find humans waiting with improvised light weapons. The most significant change occurs in rural Montana, where truck driver Mike becomes an unlikely hero. His truck, modified with powerful frequency lights, becomes a mobile fortress. He drives through areas where the shadows are thickest, rescuing isolated families and maintaining supply lines. Mike's CB radio becomes a coordination center for resistance efforts across the American West. Farmers, ranchers, and truckers share information and tactics. They develop methods for detecting stalker approach routes and create early warning networks. The Void Stalkers realize they're facing something unprecedented. These humans don't just fight back. They learn from every encounter and share that knowledge instantly. Each attack teaches humanity more about their hunter's weaknesses and soul. Electronics manufacturer Mr. Park converts his factory to mass-produce frequency weapons. Similar efforts begin worldwide. Within a week, millions of modified devices flood the market. The stalkers find their hunting grounds shrinking as safe zones expand around every major city. The hunters try new tactics. They begin mimicking human voices, calling out from the darkness to lure people away from lighted areas. But humans quickly develop countermeasures. Code words and verification systems spread through communities. Children learn songs that adults used to identify real people. In Cairo, archaeologist Omar makes a startling discovery while researching ancient texts. Several historical accounts describe similar shadow attacks throughout human history. The Void Stalkers have visited Earth before, but previous encounters were isolated and forgotten. This time, global communication prevents the knowledge from being lost. The shadows begin showing signs of fatigue. Their attacks become less coordinated. Several witnesses report seeing them retreat when faced with determined human resistance. For creatures accustomed to easy victories, the prolonged conflict takes its toll. In Tokyo, security guard Ken teams up with local police to establish the first official shadow response unit. They develop protocols for shadow encounters and train civilians in basic defense techniques. Similar units form in major cities worldwide. The turning point comes in the Australian outback. Mining engineer Pete and his crew are trapped in their compound by a massive shadow assault. Instead of waiting for rescue, they use mining equipment to create the largest frequency light array ever built. The blast of modified illumination doesn't just drive back the shadows. It causes visible damage to several stalkers. Video of the injured shadows spreads globally within hours. For the first time, humans see their hunters retreat in apparent pain. The psychological effect is enormous. The Void Stalkers, who have terrorized civilizations for millions of years, can be hurt. Military forces worldwide begin mobilizing. The frequency technology is adapted for everything from personal sidearms to artillery systems. Research teams work to increase the power and range of the light weapons. But the most important development isn't technological, it's social. Humanity has unified against a common threat in ways that seemed impossible just days before. Political differences are set aside. Resources are shared freely. Information flows without restriction. The Void Stalkers face a choice they've never confronted. They can continue an increasingly costly hunt against prey that fights back effectively, or they can retreat for the first time in their existence. Their pride demands they continue, but their survival instincts suggest withdrawal. As Earth's defenses strengthen and spread, the ancient hunters begin to understand they may have chosen the wrong prey. These humans don't just refuse to be afraid. They turn fear into fuel for innovation and cooperation. The galaxy's deadliest predators are learning what it means to be hunted. 3 weeks after the first shadow sightings, Earth has transformed into something the Void Stalkers never expected. A fortress world where every human is armed with light. The modification technology has spread to every corner of the planet. Even remote villages in the Amazon carry frequency devices powered by car batteries and solar panels. The stalkers' casualties mount daily. What began as routine hunting has become a war of attrition they cannot win. For the first time in millions of years, the ancient predators experience genuine fear. Their shadowy forms, once impervious to physical harm, show visible wounds from sustained frequency attacks. In Geneva, the hastily formed Global Shadow Defense Council coordinates the worldwide resistance. Military leaders, scientists, and ordinary citizens who became heroes work together. General Adams, who leads the military response, reports that shadow activity has dropped by 60% in the past week. The humans have learned to hunt efficiently. Thermal imaging reveals that the stalkers radiate cold instead of heat, making them visible to infrared sensors. Satellite networks track temperature anomalies across the globe. When shadows gather, response teams arrive within minutes. In the Brazilian rainforest, indigenous tracker Carlos leads a team that specializes in hunting the most dangerous stalkers. These ancient shadows, bigger and stronger than the others, have retreated to remote areas. But humans follow them everywhere, using boats equipped with powerful light arrays to patrol rivers and aircraft to search from above. The Void Stalkers attempt a final massive assault on New York City. Hundreds of them pour from the sky like black rain, trying to overwhelm the city's defenses through sheer numbers. They expect chaos and panic. Instead, they find the most prepared city on Earth. Every building blazes with frequency lights. Streets fill with citizens carrying modified flashlights and cell phones. Police and military units coordinate seamlessly with civilian volunteers. The attack lasts only 4 hours before the shadows retreat, leaving behind dozens of wounded comrades. Biologist Dr. Smith makes a crucial discovery while examining captured shadow residue. The stalkers aren't purely supernatural creatures. They're partially physical beings from another dimension. This explains their vulnerability to specific light frequencies and suggests they might have other weaknesses. The discovery leads to breakthrough developments in anti-shadow weaponry. Engineers create devices that can disrupt the dimensional fabric the stalkers use to travel. For the first time, humans can prevent shadow escapes and force confrontations. In Antarctica, Research Station Commander Elena uses these new dimensional disruptors to trap an entire pack of stalkers. Her team of 12, isolated at the bottom of the world, becomes the first humans to capture shadow creatures alive. The implications stagger the global defense network. The captured stalkers reveal information that changes everything. Under interrogation, using advanced frequency patterns that cause extreme discomfort, they admit this is not their first visit to Earth. They have hunted here before, throughout human history. But previous visits occurred when humans were scattered and primitive, unable to communicate effectively or resist in large numbers. The ancient hunters reveal they chose Earth specifically because human historical records showed a species prone to internal conflict and fear of the unknown. They expected to find divided civilizations fighting among themselves. Instead, they found a unified world that turned their arrival into humanity's finest hour. Perhaps most shocking is the revelation that the Void Stalkers had been broadcasting their hunts to audiences across the galaxy. Other civilizations watch their terror campaigns as entertainment. Earth was supposed to be their latest show, a demonstration of superior predatory evolution. But the broadcasts have backfired spectacularly. Instead of showing human weakness, they've displayed unprecedented resistance and adaptation. Species across the galaxy watch in amazement as humans not only survive, but thrive under assault from creatures that destroyed countless other civilizations. The galactic audience begins to see humans differently. These aren't primitive creatures to be pitied or dismissed. They're something new and dangerous, a species that treats impossible odds as motivation rather than obstacles. The Void Stalkers face complete strategic collapse. Their dimensional pathways are being disrupted, their forces are scattered and wounded, and their reputation as unstoppable hunters lies in ruins. Worse, the galactic community that once feared them now questions their supremacy. In orbit around Earth, the last major concentration of stalkers gathers for a final decision. They can attempt one more massive assault, risking total destruction of their forces. They can retreat and admit defeat for the first time in their existence. Or they can try something that goes against every instinct: negotiation. The shadow Creatures that have terrorized the galaxy for eons face a choice that will define their future. Below them spins a blue world full of creatures that should have been easy prey, but instead became the most dangerous opponents they've ever encountered. Earth waits, armed with light and united in purpose, ready for whatever comes next. Asterisk, the message arrives on every communication device on Earth simultaneously. The Void Stalkers, for the first time in their existence, request a meeting. The transmission comes through methods humans don't understand, bypassing all security systems and appearing directly on screens. Worldwide, the Shadow Creature's representative materializes in a sealed chamber beneath the United Nations building. It appears as a constantly shifting darkness, speaking in voices that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere. The creature that once terrorized entire civilizations now stands before human leaders as a supplicant. General Adams, Dr. Smith, and representatives from every major nation attend the historic meeting. The Stalker's first words shock everyone. We surrender. The ancient hunter explains their impossible situation. They cannot defeat humanity through conventional hunting methods. Their forces are decimated, their reputation destroyed. Most importantly, their actions have awakened something in the galactic community that threatens their entire species. The broadcasts meant to showcase their superiority have instead revealed humanity's potential. Dozens of alien civilizations are now sending covert messages to Earth, seeking alliance with the species that drove off the galaxy's apex predators. The political balance of power is shifting in ways the Stalkers never anticipated. But the Shadow Creature brings an even more startling revelation. The Void Stalkers were not acting independently. They serve as enforcers for an ancient galactic order, hunting down species that might challenge established power structures. Humanity was targeted not just for entertainment, but because their rapid development and aggressive nature marked them as a potential threat to galactic stability. The Hunters' employers, a coalition of elder species who have controlled the galaxy, for millions of years, expected humans to be eliminated quietly. Instead, the failed hunt has announced humanity's existence and capabilities to every civilization within 1,000 light years. Dr. Smith asks, the question that changes everything. How many other species have you eliminated to maintain this order? The answer is staggering. Thousands of civilizations have been destroyed over the eons, each one eliminated when they showed signs of rapid advancement or military potential. The galaxy's apparent peace exists because any species capable of challenging it has been murdered in their infancy. The Void Stalker makes an unprecedented offer. In exchange for safe passage from Earth's solar system, they will provide humanity with the locations and capabilities of every species in their employer's coalition. They will reveal the hidden structure that has controlled galactic civilization. Since before Earth's sun formed, the debate among human leaders is intense but brief. Some argue for accepting the truce and avoiding larger conflicts. Others insist that humanity has a moral obligation to act on the information. The deciding factor comes from an unexpected source, truck driver Mike, whose modified rig helped spark the resistance, addresses the assembly via video link. His words are simple but powerful. These things came here to kill us all. They've been killing others for millions of years. We didn't ask for this fight, but now that we know the truth, we can't just pretend it's not our problem. The decision is unanimous. Humanity will accept the Stalker's information, but they will not grant safe passage. Instead, they offer a different deal. The Void Stalkers can earn their freedom by helping dismantle the system they once served. They must use their abilities to protect the species they once hunted. The Shadow Creature's response reveals how completely the situation has changed. It agrees immediately, without negotiation. The galaxy's deadliest hunters have become humanity's reluctant allies. Over the following months, Earth transforms again. The technology developed during the Shadow War advances rapidly. frequency weapons. Become faster-than-light communication systems. Dimensional disruptors become the foundation for humanity's first interstellar vessels. The void. Stalkers keep their bargain. They guide human ships to worlds where genocidal hunts are already underway. They help rescue civilizations that would otherwise be destroyed. Their presence alongside human forces sends a clear message across the galaxy. The old order is ending. The elder species who controlled galactic civilization for eons find their enforcement mechanism turned against them. Planets that lived in fear for millennia now look to the distant blue world where impossible things happen regularly. Humanity doesn't seek to rule the galaxy. They seek something more dangerous to established power. They want to free it. Every species deserves the chance to develop without fear, to reach for the stars without being struck down by ancient predators. The transformation is not without cost. Earth becomes a target for more conventional military forces. But the planet that drove off the Void Stalkers faces these new threats with the same combination of innovation, cooperation, and stubborn refusal to surrender that made them legend. The end. The deadliest hunters in the galaxy didn't vanish without a trace. They became the first allies in humanity's greatest adventure, liberating a galaxy that had forgotten what freedom meant. The stars that once seemed empty now blaze with the light of civilizations free to develop their own destinies. And at the center of it all spins a blue world whose inhabitants looked into the darkness and chose to light fires instead. Asterisk.